Have you ever been so deeply depressed that it's excruciating to even smile, but when someone asks you how you are, you fake one and pretend that everything's okay? That's what this video is about. Or rather, it's about an artist, Genesis Owusu, whose full-length debut album, Smiling with No Teeth, and the follow-up EP, it's called Missing Molars. Genesis Owusu has done more to address the twin demons of racism and depression than anyone I've ever heard of. Welcome to The Radioactive Patient, a music, art, and mental health mashup. I'm Allison Strong, your host. And no, I'm not a YouTube therapist. I'm not a clinical psychologist. I'm not an influencer. I'm just a person who lives with a mental health condition and a lived history of substance abuse. Background: Genesis Owusu was born in Ghana as Kofi Owusu Ansah, and when he was 3, his parents moved to the really white world of Canberra, which is the capital of Australia. It's impossible to pin down Genesis Owusu's style or genre of music. It has been described as, and I swear, I'm sorry, I have to refer to notes right here, progressive rock, experimental rock, rock rap, neo-soul, pop, and punk rock. Genesis Owusu, for reasons I'm going to make clear in a bit, is not someone who wants to be put in a box. That's what being an artist for him is all about. Concept-wise, the album, Smiling with No Teeth, deals with the twin demons of depression and racism and is split in half, with the first crop of songs dealing with depression and the second with racism, like Whip Cracker, for example. But it's really interesting. You could listen to a song that you think is about racism and find threads about depression at the very same time. Every single song on the album is like the flip sides of the same coin. I think it's pretty ingenious. In several interviews, Genesis Owusu has spoken about depression as being a dark seductress, a seductress who wants you to feel like you're the only one. But in reality, at any given moment in time, hundreds of millions of people are suffering with depression. The album's best-known track, Gold Chains, illustrates and embodies the results of being seduced in exactly this way. He's singing about how it's so cold inside these chains, and he's got, a gold grill. He's flashing it. He's got gold around his neck. As he sings in a Pharrell-like falsetto, the song Gold Chains also does double duty as a song about being seduced by the record industry into, signing that little piece of paper that makes it so that you're their property and you will do what they say pretty much forever. In the song, Genesis Owusu is cold, he's trapped, and he's pretty worried about relapse, although I don't know exactly which kind of a relapse he's talking about, but I will link the music video in the section below. Another thing that's weird about Genesis Owusu, he's almost always got white bandages over his face like The Weeknd or David Bowie. I think that's one of those things where you just have to use your imagination and know that he's damaged and he's trying to hold it together. The song Gold Chains is like rap and pop and soul. Oh wait, scratch that. Because Genesis Owusu has said many times he doesn't want to be put in a box or described as just being one musical style or another. For him, that is another prison that he doesn't want to be locked up in. Throughout Genesis Owusu's music, especially on the album, the term black dogs comes up repeatedly. Going back into colonial history, if you will, black dog was a term that Winston Churchill, who used to be the Prime Minister of England, used to use when he felt depressed. Many people think that Winston Churchill had untreated bipolar disorder, and when he was manic, it was great. He didn't need to sleep, he didn't need to eat, he had lots of ideas. But when he was depressed, for him, and he would say, "Oh, my black dog has come back again." It has another meaning as well. Apparently, when he was growing up, Genesis Owusu had been called a black dog when someone hurled that in his direction as a racial slur. He got to thinking about these two different things that occupy this terminology. And there you have the album. When Genesis Owusu was in his youth in Canberra, Australia, he didn't have black role models. And back then, if you were black, people made you to be in one of two categories. Categories again. You were either funny man like Eddie Murphy, or you were gangsta like 50 Cent. You were either one or the other. Genesis realized that as a musician, he could break out of that box, and one of his first flashes of inspiration came from Kanye West. Also listed as an influence is Lupe Fiasco, who I'm definitely going to be doing a video on, and MC Doom, and the Sex Pistols. In fact, Genesis Owusu did a cover version of Anarchy in the UK, and that's on YouTube, and I'll link that below too. Okay, one last thing about Genesis Owusu. You know how sometimes like music videos, even for some of the best artists, are sexist, overwrought, overthought, or just plain lame? Genesis Owusu does his own videos, and by that I mean that he does the production design, he composes the shot. He's not behind the camera, obviously, because he's the one singing in the music videos, but he's got some incredible imagery. For example, the song The Other Black Dog, which is on the racist side of Smiling with No Teeth. It's the black of night. He's running down the street. His face is wrapped in gauze. And he's being chased by a car driven by a shadow version of himself. Is that the shit? I think that's brilliant. Well, that's it for this edition of The Radioactive Patient. If you enjoyed anything that you heard here, please like, make comments, subscribe. If you can think of a way that I could tag this video so that it gets a little bit more exposure, because I have like no clue. I think this artist is pretty groundbreaking, and he deserves to be heard and heard about. I'm Allison Strong, your host, and until next time, ciao for now.